It's me, Matt Stone, and this is a very short vlog that I'm going to do in response to Play Where Talk Red, who's tagged me to do a top tips video for Disneyland Paris. So our first tip is breakfast. Most important meal of the day, and one thing we learned, probably not on the last trip but the trip before that, was get into breakfast as early as possible. So when you check in, go ask for the first breakfast time available. But we went in for an early morning 7 o'clock breakfast the last trip we went on. I went for breakfast and then came back to the hotel room, got showered and ready, and then went down to the parks for just after 8 o'clock for the extra magic hours. Our next top tip is lunch. Our little tip here is either have a really early lunch, about 11, half 11, or wait until after 2 p.m. You'll find the queues for the food counters are much shorter and there's generally more seating available. When we like to go somewhere for lunch, especially if it's raining or it's cold outside, we tend to go somewhere like, I think it's Colonel Haties or Colonel Hafey's, and Cafe Hyperon. Cafe Hyperon's a good one because you've got the big screen that you can watch while you're eating, although they do tend to play the same episode of Star Wars Rebels over and over again, but sometimes you get to see the Jedi Academy, so it's a good place, plenty of seating in there, always good at lunchtime. Our next top tip is dinner. There's a bit of a food theme here. We stayed 2 years ago at the Santa Fe Hotel, which is the furthest hotel on site from the main park entrance. We found, we were quite surprised actually, that the restaurant there, La Cantina, which is a Mexican all-you-can-eat buffet, was, whilst a little bit expensive, I think it was about 25 euros per person for an adult. The food there was really good, and if you love Mexican and slightly spicy food, it's brilliant, and you can eat and drink as much as you like. Okay, our next top tip is FastPass. FastPass is included in the price of your ticket, which is brilliant because most theme parks, especially the ones here in the UK, tend to charge you a ridiculous amount to be able to get FastPass style tickets. My advice is get to the popular rides first. So in Disneyland Park, that would be rides like Space Mountain, I think Peter Pan's Flight, and Thunder Mountain. In the Disney Studios Park, Ratatouille is always busy, so make sure you get to that one first. Get your first Fast Pass ticket. As soon as your ride time comes up, ride, and then go straight to the next Fast Pass attraction. If you do the popular ones first, you should get through the busiest attractions quite early in the day, so by middle of the afternoon you'll be free then to do all of the other attractions. Okay, our next tips are all related to before you go and in advance of booking your trip. One thing I'd really recommend is when you book, check for ride closures. Disney close rides continuously all year round because they're a 365 day a year theme park, so they don't have downtime out of season that they can close the park down for maintenance. So you will find at certain times of the year some of the rides will be closed for refurbishment, especially now between 2015 and 2017 there's a massive refurbishment program going on. Our next tip is Disney meal plans. A lot of discussions, I've had quite a few discussions with people on Disney meal plans, and there's a mixed school of thought on whether they really are good value for money or not. I think it depends on how much you think you're going to eat when you're there, and also how much the meal plan is at the time you book. So I would say my opinion is generally the meal plans are not worth paying for if you have to pay full price, because there's a couple of downsides to the meal plans. They work out marginally cheaper than eating, but because they're restricted to certain restaurants, you'll find you'll have to book a lot of your seating in advance, and you would then have to structure your entire day around eating at a particular restaurant, which isn't great if you can't predict how long you're going to be stuck in a queue or riding on a particular ride for. But if you can get them free or discounted, they're good, especially if you're a family and you want to you save a lot of money. So I highly recommend looking at the meal plans as long as you're not paying full price for them. Okay, our last tip is check for school holidays. If you're travelling with children, you're probably going to be restricted to only being able to go in UK holiday time, so obviously the prices are going to be a bit more. But if you are lucky enough to be able to travel outside of school holidays, I use a really good website called www.schoolholidayseurope.eu, and it lists every single European country's typical term time holidays. Obviously they vary a little bit from region to region, but the important ones to check would be all the surrounding countries to France, so Spain, Germany, Italy. You'll find that even if you go at a time when the French aren't on holiday, if you get there when, say, all the Spanish schools are off, the park will be very, very busy with students and families that are visiting during their holiday time. The other tip I've got in relation to school holidays is book your trip to go on a weekday. Weekends, even through the off season, are always really busy. You'll see the ride queue times go up to in excess of an hour or two, Monday to Friday, especially in the autumn, spring and winter. The parks are quite quiet. You tend to not queue more than 20 minutes on most of the rides, and it's definitely my recommended time of year to go. So I hope that's been a help, and that these tips help you planning your next vacation to Disneyland Paris. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button that's just down here, and also follow Playware Talk Red, who nominated me to make this video.